5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, Sarvesh.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, man? Welcome to Truth Room Experience.
I'm glad I'm here.
It was pretty quick response. I actually pretty much was like, yeah, perfect.
Edit out the awkward silence, bro.
It was no, I meant a quick response when I actually texted you. Yeah.
All right, yeah. I don't know. I have a soft spot for podcasts, so
Why is that?
I don't know. I feel like it's the most natural way you can record someone or get to have a conversation with someone. I mean, everything else is not as natural as a podcast.
Yeah, interviews.
Interviews are pretty much staged because it's going
Yeah.
to be Q&A, and they mail questions to other people, whatever it is. I mean, they essentially stage it, but podcasts are not like that. You just sit back, have a conversation.
Yeah. Talk about world, talk about life, talk about politics.
Mm-hmm.
If one wants to indulge in that, depends.
If one.
Yeah, exactly. How awkward has it become that suddenly when you're actually on a podcast or any sort of conversation that's going to be podcasted to a lot of people, and then you're like, oh, let's talk politics, and it's like an elephant in the room kind of situation.
Yeah, now I know why it's called Truth Room Experience.
Yeah.
No, I think it's okay. I mean, essentially, you're supposed to have view about politics. I mean, you're supposed to have opinions about politics. Good or bad, or right or wrong is the next stage. But, I mean, you're subject to a system that governs you every single second. So you might as well get to know as much about it and have an opinion about it.
True. But it's also like freedom of speech. I can talk whatever I want.
Yeah,
talk, kind of
I
thing,
think the problem
Why
is
do we have to feel
Yeah.
nervous about talking about politics.
It
I can
shouldn't.
say what we want to say.
it shouldn't. I mean, we've made it nervous now because like everyone outside has a really loud voice, and they don't stop with just voices and opinions anymore. It's so messed up. Which is why everybody on record, I think, tries to be shy of politics.
Shy or just take a, I don't know, weird stance.
No, it's not.
It's
Okay,
more
I
like
mean, as
that.
long as taking a populist stance, I guess it's okay.
No, I would love to see someone take a neutral stand in things. That
I
would
don't
be
think it's
better.
possible
So
to
why
take
not?
a truly neutral. How would you describe a truly
you're
neutral
either far
stance?
right or you're far left. That's how
That's
it is.
well, that's as far from neutral as you can get.
That's why you need to find people who are always neutral in it,
I guess
because they see the govern of people, and people are good. So you have to govern all of them properly. That's the normal person in the middle.
yeah, but then the point where it becomes not neutral is when you start questioning what defines good governance, and then you go find out, okay, so this, it's like healthcare and whatnot, right? Education, and then you read up on what's currently happening in terms of healthcare and education, and then you decide whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, would you have liked it better or worse? And then that defines your political leaning at that point. You can't really be just neutral because you're subject to a bunch of stuff as you were growing up that's formed your opinions about whether things are, one way or other, and you'll always jump to conclusions.
Yeah, but as I see right now, it's more like traditions are different and rules to govern a particular state is different. When one gets both mixed up, then your governing is completely flawed because you try to look back to your traditions. That's how I look India is right now.
I guess.
It is not a completely logical governing of anything. It's always slanted towards tradition.
Most of it, I'd
Yeah.
say.
And over
Perhaps,
here,
or more frequently. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess. Now.
Yeah, weird point.
No, I mean, see, even there, if you look at it, people who hold tradition over everything else in their own households, and there are quite a few in India, they would think that's good governance.
Well, that's your personal thing. You can do it in
See,
your house.
exactly.
That's the whole point.
No, but
That's the
if you're
freedom you
saying,
get.
hey, 100 people are doing the same thing in their house, we might as well make it, I mean, put it out there on record. I mean, there's only 5 other people who live in the town. So 105 people, you guys have to do this now. That's it. And so you can't really say that's wrong if you are one of the 100 people who it's beneficial to. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you say traditions are more important as a government, you might be good or bad on an individual scale, but most of the country doesn't see why it's not good.
What traditions are
Yeah.
I mean, see, any logical governing that you do is obviously based off the good that comes from all traditions and years of rules that have been put down on that particular land.
Right.
You know what I mean? So these the rules that we have right now is all perfectly done over the last, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of years right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we come to this current state, where I would say the current state is, I would say a couple of years before, you know, or
Right.
I'm talking about sometime 10, 15 years ago when the rules were pretty good and, you know, no one's getting influenced by anything and
Mhm.
it's all normal, to a sudden shift and how people want to handle these things. And it's scary when you just want to like keep, you're not taking logical decisions as a governing decision, but then you're just like relating or leaning over one particular side of a tradition that you feel is good for the whole of the nation. Then it becomes a mess.
That's exactly why I'm saying this, because we're persisting with that side because most people don't see what's wrong.
That's
So
the thing.
if my household were to say, yeah, traditions are supposed to be followed, and the government says, yeah, do that as a law, my parents won't say it's a great thing that the government did it, but they would definitely object when I say that's not a good thing, because they'll be like, hey, it's a good thing anyway, might as well
Mhm.
follow it. What's the
So
worst
yeah,
that can
it's
happen?
just going towards what popular
Yeah.
it is at the end of the day. And it's a weird situation.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's a
Everywhere.
weird situation.
It's not just
it's like now with the whole how other countries also work. It's kind of like, yo,
Hmm.
we don't know where we are going. We need to revise everything, set our patch straight, and we're basically a young country. But you know, these are
It's
things
so
that
coincidental. Such a nice coincidence. You have Mind Camp on the table right now as we speak about governance and people.
Man, I read these weird books because you know you have to deeply understand what shapes as humans as we are right now.
Hmm.
You know, this is more, you know, it's more like, okay, I am this way because my dad taught me this way, but who taught him? And if you keep digging into
So
certain small
yeah,
behaviors,
it's just a study of anthropology.
yeah,
Yes.
and then you just like stumble into other things. Like it's not just like then a certain ideas are like crazy. They just keep trickling down to form
Right.
what we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was like, you know, I'll go through Mein Kampf, understand his ideology, understand what the whole thing was about, you know, just keep a neutral look into it. And then I'll go to Sapiens. Because if I go to Sapiens, you understand human in a biological way.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you study an ideology, it could, you know, you'll think about it in a very different way. It's
Right.
reverse thinking.
Hmm.
And I guess more comedians have that reverse thinking. In every situation you look at it into a reverse thinking situation.
I mean, you look at it at how to make it funny, and I guess over time you have a set idea of what would be funny and what wouldn't. And I guess you could call it reverse thinking or whatever, but it'll become, hey, I'm in this situation and I see this happening. How do I bring the funny out of this? But instead it becomes, I know what's funny, how do I push this situation into that? You know what I'm saying? It's not so much how do I look at what's funny right now, but how do I fit the current situation into what's already funny?
Okay. So you try to put your or any experiences that you go through personally which is funny, and then you fit that into the other one.
Yeah, no, so initially when I started writing out jokes, they were just things I could write without them ever having happened to me. It would be observational humor, it would be
Mhm.
something that I've pictured up or
Mhm.
imagined. And over time I got to know what is funny to just me and what is universally funny, because as a stand-up comic that difference is extremely important. So eventually I got an idea of, hey, so whatever I do now is going to be conversationally funny, and what part of it can I take on stage and tell people so that they will also find, I mean, stand-up essentially just people trying to do inside jokes with strangers.
Yeah.
So when you go up on stage you can't crack the same jokes that you crack with your friends, so you start picturing things that you think everybody will find funny and you start telling them, so now you have an idea of what's funny. Beyond a point, the way it developed for me was now I know what these guys think is funny and isn't. How do I write more within that frame?
But is it a tough process to actually realize what is funny to you is not funny to others? And
Oh
to
yeah,
find
yeah,
the
yeah.
right way
Yeah, I mean, how often in a conversation with someone new do you say the phrase, haha, maybe it was funny in the moment, or maybe you should have been there,
Yeah.
right? And so that's when you understand that, hey, it was funny to me then, why is it not funny to this person? And when you do that on stage with like 20 people in front of you, you get a pretty good idea and a pretty like clear idea of what they find funny and what they don't. Because as a comic, you go up on stage, there's a if it's an open mic, it's fine. I mean, everyone's trying out jokes, but if it's a show, you know you have to go and be funny for whatever number of minutes you're supposed to be there. And the first show or the first couple of shows, it'll always be, hey, this worked out, why did it work here? This was funny to me, at least in the past, why is it not funny here? And it's just that deafening silence that just gets to you.
The bombing on stage.
Oh, you don't bomb for the amount of time you're on stage. When you go there and don't get laughs, you bomb for the entire duration. You don't hit another open mic that you were successful at.
Oh, that's a tough process.
Yeah. The first time you write new jokes and you go up on stage and you have 4 minutes and you do your jokes at an open mic and nobody laughs and the host comes back and you hand over that mic going, maybe if I had a couple of more minutes I could have cracked this audience. They might have laughed. But you know it's not happening because none of your new jokes are working. So you leave and you go back home, you keep that in your head till you go sleep. Like, shit man, none of this worked. The next morning you wake up, you're like, okay, how do I tweak these jokes in time for the next open mic? How can I make them better or worse? And then you go there, and if you bomb there, you carry the pressure of having bombed on like, even though it's only happened twice, you think of it in terms of like a week or something because you've only hit 2 open mics that week.
Yep.
So then it becomes, oh, I wasn't funny for those 2 bits of 4 minutes that I did on stage. I wasn't, it's more, I wasn't funny for 10 days now. And so you keep carrying that until you get at least like one laugh out of the audience. There's like this huge pressure to just keep going back up there, and then you start like, I mean, if it gets way much worse, then it becomes, should I really be doing comedy at all? But
how do you realize that? Some people have early, some people have late.
I guess, I mean, for me it was pretty quick. So every comic goes through the same routine. They start going to open mics thinking, hey, I'm the funny guy in the friend circle, and then they learn what's funny and what's not, and they start writing jokes. And as a comic, what happens is, initially when you step into stand-up comedy, the whole excitement period of being a comic gets to you. So you keep writing 5 minutes every day, 5 minutes of new jokes every single day, and you go out there to every open mic with new jokes and you go and tell them your jokes. And eventually you realize that out of like maybe 20 open mics that you've hit, you were probably funny for like 30% of it, and the 70 were just giggles or silence. So then you realize, oh shit, I haven't been funny, I've just been putting out content. I haven't thought about the quality at all. And that's when you go back and you prep your whole thing and you decide to go up on stage for a show if you get put on a lineup. What happened to me was I think it probably was funny for most open mics that I went, despite doing those jokes for the first and probably only time. And later on, when one fine day it didn't work, I decided to go back to the first jokes that I ever did that worked then, and then even they didn't work, and I was pretty surprised. And around that time I got put on a list for a show, and on the lineup for a show, and I had 8 minutes to perform. And I walk up on stage, and for 8 minutes there is nothing but silence. There are jokes that are not working, there are jokes that I've forgotten, that I'm not delivering right because I got too nervous. This is my first show, I'm supposed to be, performing better, whatnot. I leave with this heavy heart, and that's when I go back and I realize that maybe I should start perfecting jokes before I start writing newer jokes. And when I start perfecting jokes and even they didn't work, I was like, that's when I realized maybe I should take a step back. Maybe I should just not do comedy for a while, or not do comedy at all because I'm not funny. I'll just be happy being the funny guy in the friend circle. Yeah, that's happened like a couple of times. And it's not like riding a bike, right? Like you can never be a funny comic and then take a break for like a year and then go back and still be the same funny comic. I mean, you have to be comfortable with the stage and get used to the stage for you to ever be comfortable in the future.
That is true. But you took how long a break?
So the first time I took a month, I took like a 3-month break, and after that I went back to comedy, and it didn't work for like a month and a half. So I took another like really long 6-month-ish break. I think I quit in March 2017. Then I went back to open mics in June or July or something. July, yeah. And then again it didn't work for the first few open mics. And for 2 months I was, I had this whole thing where I was like, I thought I had found out how to be funny, and now it's been 2 months and I can't get a single laugh from jokes that I'd written when I used to do them, and like everybody found them funny. It's not even new jokes, so why is it not working? And ever since, I think I haven't like taken a break. I mean, I might skip a few open mics here and there, but I make sure I hit as many as possible. I mean, at least 3 or 4 a month.
And now the game is different. You get the laughs.
Now I get the laughs.
Yeah.
That's because I got comfortable with the stage. I mean, at one point I was doing as many open mics as possible. I was doing like 4 open mics, 5 open mics a week, and 4 open mics a week, I think. And
it's getting them under your belt.
Yeah.
The
Just
amount of time, stage time you get in front of people.
as much as possible. And I think over that period is when I found out what is funny and what isn't, because you also get to, like, the more open mics you hit, the more time you get to spend with the other comics, who will probably help you out and tell you what's funny and what's not. How can you change your joke? Do this joke like this, it might be funnier, or something like that. And that's how it works now. And now I find it extremely comfortable being on stage. Now I know that if you put me on a stage, I will do like my best.
Yeah. It's always the first joke that you decide to say on the stage is the most crucial, I believe. Because I think once you get a laugh, you can ride that wave.
You can,
like surfing.
It's not the first joke; it's the first laugh.
Yeah,
That's the trickiest.
Laugh, yeah.
Oh, you get the.
You always want to get that first laugh on your first joke.
I guess the thing is, like I said, you're making inside jokes with strangers, so. There are 2 parts to the inside joke. One is that they know the information that you're going to make fun of, and 2, they find what's funny. And every joke that's written has always been that. It's just, I'm going to give you this information, and then I'm going to say something funny about it. Or it's observational humor, right? People make fun of news or just life in general, things that are pretty popular. So you don't need to actually give them the information. They already know what's happening. You just point out what's funny in it. And the first part to that is always getting the audience's attention. When they're looking at you, when they're listening to you, that's when you can feed them that information, and then you can make out what's funny in it. So the first joke is always something that needs to get everybody's attention. That's it. Like, if it's not funny, it's cool. People are still listening. You have another chance. But yeah, unless you're on a show where people are there to watch you, so you will always have their attention, so you make sure the first joke's funny. But otherwise, I think the first joke's always, hey, can I talk to you guys? Which is why you'll see a lot of comics go up on stage and be like, how many of you guys have this? How many of you guys have a cell phone? How many of you guys are on Tinder or something like that?
Understand the crowd.
Yeah, it's just that question is essentially telling them, hey, now you listen to me. If I come and tell you, so these phones, right? You might be bored. You might not even listen to me. But if I say, hey, do you have a phone? And then you're like, hey,
it's like
you're talking to me, like,
you have and you can pull that.
Yeah.
And that's it. That takes you in a pretty good place then with them.
Yeah. So that audience member is invested. But if it's something very popular, as in, if you say, how many of you guys are from a middle class family, everybody would immediately start looking at you.
So you'll have a lot of eyes go off.
Right. And then now that they're listening to you, you tell them what's funny about it.
Man, it's a crazy stuff what you do. But do you tend to do crazy stuff to get more inside jokes so that you can convert it into an amazing joke out?
I guess. Yeah. I mean,
there are instances that happen that are different, but there are instances that you initiate because you know it's going to be a funny story to say.
Yeah. So I mean, if your jokes are based off of what the crowd says, more often than not you'll.
No, I'm not actually talking about crowd. I'm
Right.
talking about your in your like in your personal space or within your friends
I guess.
or something.
Oh yeah,
Because
there.
you
I
know
mean,
because you know there's gonna be jokes there.
yeah.
So, how are your jokes? Like, do you talk about more about personal stuff?
Now I do.
Or
Yes. I mean, I think right now all the jokes that I have are about me, and more me.
more about you?
Mm-hmm.
So when you started off, you spoke about general.
Yeah, it's one of those three men walked into a bar kind of jokes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to focus on yourself now?
I
Your
don't know.
jokes.
I two ways to look at it. One I found, one is pretty self-obsessed that I think whatever is happening around me is funny enough.
Mm.
Or I mean, the other thing is that when I do jokes on stage, they need not have actually happened to me. I could just be spinning a story that also includes me, just so you guys feel more invested.
Yeah.
So I found that work for me. Two is probably I stopped looking hard enough around me. I don't know. Like I could still probably go read the news and make jokes about, but it's too much effort.
Hmm. But it's
For-
effortless to make a joke of something that
It's
you
it's
just happen
for
to
me.
be in
It's
it.
more
Yeah.
easy to conjure up situations and think, haha, that would have been funny. Now I'll put myself in it, as opposed to doing my research for jokes. I mean, you need to be factually correct, I guess, but
That's a whole different thing. Being factually correct about everything. Give a man a break.
and be factually incorrect. Interesting.
Oh, that's a lot. Those people are okay. It's a weird space. So you've been in Chennai for what?
12 years now.
12 years
12
now.
years, almost. Yeah.
And you've been working here.
Yeah. I came here in 2007. I was in school then. Spent another 5 years in school, and then I went to Tanjore for my college.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
I came
shout
back
out to
here.
Tanjore. That's near my home place too.
Yeah. But yeah, those 4 years in Tanjore were probably the ones that had the most impact on who I am as a person. That was a real growing experience for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of.
I don't think
friends and-
I don't think my household or my childhood has had as much of an impact as my college life into shaping. But I guess that's true for most people.
It's very true because a lot of when people go to universities, I usually advise them, bro, listen, whatever degree you get, you come out, you're not guaranteed anything. You got to slave your ass like other people, right? So get the experience out of the college
Mm-hmm.
because you will learn so much stuff in it that you realize is much more useful in real life.
Exactly. It's been 3 years since I've been out of college. I'm pretty sure nobody in my batch remembers half the things we learned, but we do remember each other.
Yeah. And the instances and the decisions that you
Right.
had to make.
It's you don't go there to learn. Unless I didn't go there to figure out engineering or something.
Oh, you were an engineer?
Yeah.
Oh my god, how many people am I going to have on my podcast who said they started off with engineering but they're doing something entirely 180 degrees?
It's true for every
I'm still
engineer.
yet to meet someone
It's true for every
who comes
engineer.
up and says, I did journalism and now I'm in comedy.
Oh,
I'm still yet to meet someone personally. I think there are
Right.
people out there who might have done it, but
no, you'll be more surprised
Yeah.
if you come across someone who says I did engineering and now I'm an engineer.
yeah,
Well-
that's also, I mean, I don't know.
But yeah, then I came back here to Chennai in 2016. Ever since I've been here, not working, whatever, just existing.
Mm. So you've been doing everything, and then how many in lost my train of thought at that time when you were talking about it. That's what happens, man. This is what happens. This is one of those situations that happens in a podcast.
Yeah, that's the bane of podcasts, I guess. Nobody really plans out for podcasts. Oh, people do actually.
What?
Yeah.
Plan out how to do a podcast. How to go from subject to subject.
Yeah. So they list out all the topics that they are going to talk about, but they
Really?
don't figure out what they're going to talk about the topic. It could be something pretty obscure. It could be anything, right? So I was on a couple of podcasts for a football website that I'm part of. I mean, I'd like to
You
call
love
myself a
football?
part of. Yeah,
Then we have a lot to talk about.
I hope not. Depends on who you're supporting.
No, you go first.
Nope.
Come on.
So
See, this is one
coming back
particular
to
club.
that, no,
Okay,
no, no.
We'll pick on the
yeah,
subject
we'll
later.
pick on that soon.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
why not? So one of the things that happened on those podcasts was people planned out what they're going to talk about. I mean, it could be the analysis of a match or a team or something, and it'd just be we're going to discuss the coach, this player, and then this match and whatnot. So they list out all the topics, but they never tell you what exactly is it going to be about the coach or that particular player or anything. So you know that you have to keep a time limit within which you can get everybody's views about whatever the current topic is, and then you can transition to the next topic, so they know exactly how they're going.
I think that's because they have a time limit on their podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that plays a major factor when you have a time limit. For in my podcast, I don't have no time limit. I'm yet to bring
What's
in
your longest podcast?
my longest podcast was 2 hours 45 minutes.
With who?
I think it was with Shreyas.
Huh.
He's a football technical. Now he's in Delhi
Right.
right
Yeah.
now. So where he's doing, and we were just talking, and I think it was 2 hours 45 minutes. I've had a couple of other people do it too for almost 2.5 hours.
Wow.
2 hours 15
What's the
minutes
shortest?
mark. Shortest is 1 hour and 45 minutes. You know, so it's just like I have no time limit.
Mhm.
I'm yet to bring in a couple of people I know for a long time. So when they get on, it's kind of crazy. I'll lose control of my podcast. I know that. I'll
You'll
be
have to
like,
release it in parts,
dude,
correct.
hold on.
You can release it in parts, I guess.
What?
You can do it in parts, I guess. Like you can release the whole thing in parts. You can record for like 9 hours, I guess.
Nah, man, 9 hours and all. Is like nobody. I mean, they'll go maximum. I think 3 hours of bullshitting, talking. That's what I wanted to focus this on. There's no time limit.
Right.
So obviously what I'm doing is I'm releasing small clips too on topics that they can listen to. But if you listen to the whole thing, is where people just like have a normal conversation. You sit down and understand each other, kind of thing. And I mean, that's, I think, is better, because you're a comedian. You go up on stage, people see you, and I know for sure out of that crowd, maybe 5 or 6 people will be wondering how his life goes. I wonder.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's related to you. So that's where I'm like, okay, in this podcast, whenever any topic we talk with anyone, major thing is, bro, what it makes you feel like about these things, right? You can have your opinion, and one more thing is I got really annoyed looking at news when I was here, because I don't usually watch Indian news channels.
Good.
Stuck to CNN and BBC, Al
Yeah.
Jazeera, that kind of thing back in Dubai. And then when you come here, I watch NDTV now and then just to know what the fuck's happening in India, when you're there. And you watch here and you just see everyone's cut off from their opinions.
I think TV opinions need to be manufactured. That plays a major role.
So it's all cut off.
Yeah.
So another thing I wanted to do with this podcast is I'm in contact with a few people to get in about politics and this and that, and have deep conversations about it. Everyone needs to have a deep conversation about everything.
About something.
Yeah. And as Indians, if you're supposed to become a much better human, that's what I'm going to say, much better human, is to understand everything in depth about all around them.
Touche. Yeah.
You agree with that?
That's generally true. The more you know, the more well informed you are, the more well informed you are, the better you are, I guess. I mean, the amount of information that you currently possess plays a major role in, deciding where you stand on the moral compass.
True. As well as it's information which is related to other things around you, but I'm talking about how you would feel if I say something and I'm meeting you for the first time. You know what I mean?
Like what?
Say, okay, for an example, right? Where I grew up with a lot of white people in Dubai.
Right.
I had like so many of them, and they really care about what you feel about certain things if they are friends with you.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So if you're going to do something and I'm asking you to do it with me or something, and then I'll just be like, listen, are you okay about doing this? You know, you get to see this kind of stuff in movies. Because when they talk about feelings and this and that, you see, but when it really happens to you, it hits you on a different level because you're like, my dad never asked me that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you get it? But I'm talking about people's relations with other people is not entirely open over here.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, are you saying that people are way more judgmental here? Is
Oh,
what
yeah,
you're saying?
yeah. I mean, that's generalizing it. That's generalizing.
I'm just putting a term to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's if I say that now, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I was generalized, but
Yeah, look at this guy. Coming in from a different country, judging Indians.
judging us, yeah.
Judging Indians. Us.
And that happens, man.
That happens within the
Yeah.
country, so it might, like, yeah.
Is when
No,
it's
it
like a culture shock.
It is.
You went through that.
People
culture
going from one part of the country to a completely different part of the country is a culture shock in itself. I mean, so in Chennai, if you're friends with your neighbors,
shock. Mm-hmm.
right? First of all, it's. I think now it's pretty rare that I come across people who have actually lived long enough in one place to be really good friends with their neighbors or something. But you picture it in a very docile manner, right? Like you would see each other in passing, have a good conversation. The place where I stayed, my neighbor used to jump across compound walls to give me a bear hug. He was very violently affectionate that way. You will never see that happen here.
Huh.
Just the way people express their affection towards other people becomes a culture shock, because there you're used to, just waving a hi, or, how's the day, uncle? And then he will just come running to you and pick you up and, hug you and drag you with him to have lunch, irrespective of when and how you meet. And here it's just, hi, how you doing? Oh, cool, man. I'll see you later.
Here, you mean?
Yeah.
In Chennai?
Yeah. I will never brace myself for a bear hug here. When I talk to people, even people who I see on a daily basis.
That is some disconnect, though.
Yeah, I went to Delhi pretty recently, last year I think, and it was weird because when I went there, I was so used to Chennai and Tanjore and whatnot. I went there and I said hi to one of my friends, and his entire family just like surrounded me, and they had no regard for what my itinerary was. I was there because I had some work to be done on a particular day, and I decided to extend my visit by a couple of days. And right between work, I found like about half an hour to go meet one of my friends, and he had he cared absolutely 0% about what I'm doing next. It was never, hey, so what are your plans next? It was, you are coming with me now. We are going to have dinner right now.
Exactly.
You're gonna have a sleepover at my place, and that's what's going to happen. And tomorrow morning we're gonna go have breakfast. And I'm like, I have work here. I will drop you, but you're not making your own plans until then.
I love those kind of people. It's all my trips right now. I made one to Dehradun for a wedding.
Right.
I only knew my travel plans. I didn't know where I was staying, what I was doing, where I was eating, what was gonna happen, how much cash am I supposed to carry, nothing. It's like, bro, just turn up, please. Okay. And I went one day ahead because I wanted to see Dehradun. So took a scooter over there, roamed around, saw the place. Then that's it. The next couple of days it was just like his plan. And people are just like so different, man. So over here, I think there are still a few people here who still do that. It's very handful of
here
them.
people are less. They're more reserved, I guess. They're more restrained. I mean, people. Luckily for me, I have been surrounded by people who are generally affectionate towards me. That doesn't change. So I'm not saying one kind, one group of people is more affectionate or more empathetic than the other, but the way in which they express it is so different, so radically different.
Do you think that's because of, if you say, different cultures, I suppose?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It comes on, like, North obviously has a different culture. Even South itself has a lot of different cultures. And so there's like a huge difference, when you go from here to there, and they're like, okay, okay, they're not that welcoming, but they're pretty cool people. I don't know if I should be in this room or in my friend's room.
Right.
Sort of things come up all the time. But it's been crazy country, man. That's all I'm gonna say.
I like it.
I've traveled.
I'd rather stay here than go out of the country, actually.
Really?
Yeah. You only think it's a pretty garbage place because you live in it and you get to see it every single day. You have no idea what the other countries are going through.
That's there. That's there. But then obviously.
And despite the chaos it is currently, I guess it's a chaos currently. I don't know. It's a mess in terms of where everyone is politically and whatnot. But you'll always eventually it'll work out, I guess. I mean, things have happened in the past. It's worked out perfectly fine for all humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Still
can.
going on.
Yeah, you can be here
Yeah.
and you can think that this country is going dogs, and even if it does go dogs, nothing happened to you. You'll eventually figure out.
Yeah, that if you look at as human species, it will continue.
Not
on
just
no matter
species.
What, but
I'm just saying here
individuals.
as an individual. I'm just saying it can't get as bad as you think it can.
No, you see, I think the only reason I believe that people nowadays should move is I mean, I'm not recommending that, but I see, personally, right? If I look at it, I would rather go live in a country where there are not much humans. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, because
But that's
for
your
me,
preference.
That's my preference. Then that's the only reason why people. I think that's one of the reasons why people migrate. Other reasons, if like, I don't think India is a garbage country, and I think most people shouldn't think about it that way, because the moment you're here, is a whole different thing. You just understand everything.
I guess. I mean, if you're moving to India from a different place, but if you've grown up in India, you can ask anybody what they think of the government and or not the current government. You can just ask them what do you think about politicians in general, and you'll always get a negative reply everywhere.
Who is ever happy with any politicians?
Exactly, right. But so everywhere you go, people are the same. So I'd rather stay here in India than go to a different country.
A different whole different kind of rules.
I mean, you go there with hopes and dreams, and you're like, I'm in a better country. And you live there a couple of months, and you're like, yeah, no, maybe not a good idea. I have, like, my friends, for instance, some of them were so proud that they're leaving India. As soon as they finished college, they went for masters and whatnot. And they were just so incredibly happy that they're going out of India and to the US. And some of them said, hey, it's a more free country because freedom of speech is actually freedom of speech in the US. I can say whatever, I can live my life, whatnot. And they were so proud. And a year later, I asked them, how is it in the US? And most of them are just, I'd rather be back. Yeah, you go there and then you're like, damn, man, I expected better.
It's very less people who would do that. There's a difference to it, because when you grew up here,
right,
and you understand everything that happens here, this is your place. Like, if you ask my dad to go and move elsewhere, he was in Saudi for a long time, but for him, India was India, because he grew up there. He did his college there. He did everything there.
Which country does he prefer?
India, obviously. Yeah, that's because he grew up there. For us, it's different. For expat kids,
right.
Because most of us, when we grew up,
it's the same thing. You grew up there, which is why you'd rather stay there than be here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's very hard for people to just uproot themselves from one particular place and go, unless you're going for work opportunity or something for a short stay, and you get lucky to have your family there. But you're always gonna come back.
Or if you've been one of those kids who's just been traveling, who's just been moving cities ever since they were a kid,
then it doesn't become a problem. Everything becomes easy.
No, it doesn't.
I
Oh
think
no, it
your
doesn't.
adaptability is like next level then.
Yeah, but you never really have like the same set of people around you.
Yeah, that is different. But you try to adapt. I'm talking about adaptation. I'm not talking about. You never have that same thing again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
like
will
I'll
never
never
be
have
able to
Albake because I
bond
left Saudi.
with people. You'll never have what?
Albake since I love Saudi.
Right.
If you heard about it,
Mm,
not a lot of people have heard about it. It's this amazing chicken roasted dish that they
Oof.
do, and it's one of its special kind. They do it only in Jeddah, Makkah, Medina, that areas.
wow.
So
Okay.
a lot of people who ever went to Saudi have tried it, and they're like, "Dude, this is world's best. It's better than KFC, bro. KFC is right next to Albake, and that guy loses business." Jeddah is one of the biggest places where KFC, McDonald's do not have any business because it's completely taken over by this other, and he has only a few number of stores, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, maybe like 50 or 100 stores in that city. It's a huge city.
Oh, but it's not anywhere apart from the city.
Yeah, that Jeddah, Makkah, Medina. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. 4 cities. Even Riyadh, even the mayor, and you know how Saudi works. And even when they ask the company to move down to Riyadh, they're like, no, we'll lose our recipe. Yeah.
Huh.
But why were we talking about this before this?
You'll
I
never
got
have
too
outbreak in
but
India.
But why did I get went to the fantasy mode of that chicken? What were we talking before that?
Expat kids.
Oh yeah, expat kids. Yes. Because adaptation. You
Yeah, but
just adapt everywhere.
I think it's more important to. I don't know. Adaptability is not probably not on the top of my priority pyramid as survivability skills. It's more you need people you can bond with over something, and you need to have that space to bounce off and be comfortable. And you'll never have that if you keep switching the people around you. You'll never have enough time to bond with them.
But that thing reduces nowadays, no? Because you got all this new technology to still keep you bonding over with them. You can visit them anytime you like, kind of thing.
No, it's I don't know. Probably not for me. I guess. I'd rather have one of those friends who will come over or who I can just sit down with, have a conversation whenever I want in person, than be texting people and hoping they are in the right time zone so they can respond to me.
Yeah.
It's just more convenient. I mean,
it is true. I mean, you need to have people who can just like, whatever. I
Yeah.
have this one friend of mine. I completely miss that fucker. He's in Bangladesh right now. So every night we speak on WhatsApp call.
right.
Yeah. Only when I do my podcast, late night podcast, I was just like, not talking. Yeah, literally, sometimes he gets pissed. Like, I talk to you way more, dude. I need to get a girlfriend. I can't do this shit with you. It's like every night my mom comes in the room and she screams at me. She screams at me telling, fucker, go get a girlfriend. Why are you talking to this guy every night? It's very different. But we just stayed together for a year. And that was a crazy experience in Dubai. For 1 year we stayed together and we were broke as fuck.
When was this?
2016. Yeah, exciting year. 2017 was also an exciting year. I think these couple of years shaped my thinking into what it is right now.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, not a lot of people know me that too close, but
Yeah.
when you compare yourself
Uh-huh.
as the years that you grow, sometimes you just sit and contemplate about yourself. You're like, how was I thinking in a particular scenario last year? And now I'm thinking about the same particular scenario right now. Have you ever went that deep?
Retrospection, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. You can't help but do that, right? Look back and... There will always be a point in time where you'll start asking, why are you this particular way? And that's when you look back and you realize that, oh, all this happened, which is why I think a certain way. You can't help that. I think everyone goes through that process. Not at the same time, but personally, the earlier the better. The earlier you start questioning what's happening, why do I have certain opinions? Why do I have certain perspectives? Is there such a thing as a better perspective at all, and all that? That's when you start molding yourself into who you are.
It's pretty cool that a lot of people realize that much early.
I'd rather have a lot of people realize that much earlier than later.
Yeah.
You'd rather spend the major part of your adulthood, knowing that you are a certain way, than looking back at it later and figuring out what just happened. I mean, also, for instance, now when I look back, I realize that I've done some pretty messed up. I mean, had pretty horrible opinions, or said things that were probably far from correct, socially or morally. So now I have that way to acknowledge that, yeah, okay, I was probably not, correct, or not the best human being here, but I'm definitely better than that now. So that accountability comes in the earlier you do it.
I think that only comes when you actually say it out loud, then rather than think it yourself.
I guess, I mean,
I think that's how it works, I suppose, because when you have some thought, you can fester a thought in your head, and nobody will ever change that for you because you never actually let that out of your mouth.
which is exactly why I think retrospective thinking works.
It works only when you talk your stuff out.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You have an opinion, you say it. And then next year onwards, you're like, why did I say that?
Mm-hmm.
The phrase of why did I say that what comes in your mind when you're thinking. It's not why did I think that?
Right.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
That only happens when you're in like weird situations about the one we were talking earlier, and you're sitting in the room.
Why did I think that?
Why did I think that? What's the time now?
What is it?
There was a small experience I had over here. This is like you go through these weird things and you're like, oh, why was I even thinking that? And then you start doubting yourself. Like, am I?
Yeah.
Oh man. I think we are lost in thoughts right now thinking about those. Oh yeah, let's talk about football.
Oh shit. So who do you support?
You go first.
You go first.
You go
Okay.
first. Rock,
Tell me the
paper,
name of
scissors.
your league.
Premier League.
Premier League. Oh shit.
You?
Same.
Okay, let's go rock, paper, scissors.
All right. Sure.
Alright. 1, 2, 3. Alright, you go first.
Shit. Arsenal.
Okay.
Who do you
Okay.
support?
Liverpool, man.
Liverpool.
Through and through.
Yeah. You shouldn't be talking about football right now, I guess. Then I mean, it'll be a
Hey, man,
more
I can
touchy
talk about
topic
it.
for you
I
than
don't mind. I can
for
talk
me.
about it. It's okay. We're in second in the league. It's a long league. 9 games left. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
and
You
we
were
haven't
first
lost a
for
game. I mean,
like
we lost one game against City. So
you were on top for a while.
yeah, we're
on the
competing with
league,
Man City.
and you were. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You gave up on your lead, and it's so.
So what? 1 point lead, I think. Is it 1 point lead?
No, there is no lead. You're in second place right now
Yeah,
by
so-
2 points, I think.
2 points,
I
right?
think so.
Yeah, it's the same thing. We win one more game. If they draw or something like that happens, they go down.
Oh, they have a much higher goal difference.
Yeah, we'll see that in the end. Not much higher. It's still touching distance, but we'll see that in the end.
Yeah.
But hey, man, if you win the league this year, fantastic. If you don't, buckle up, go for it next year. We've got an amazing coach. It's not going to let
I had
you
that guy
down.
for 3 years. I actually admire his work
For where Liverpool was.
until.
honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Like-
It was one of those fifth place,
Yeah.
sixth placed teams.
And once in a blue moon, they
Once in a
had
blue moon, they'll-
like Brendan
yeah.
Rodgers one season, he came in and tried to pull it off.
And it went down to the wire. You guys were supposed to preserve a 3-0 lead against QPR in the last match. You just had to win it to win the league. And then QPR came from 3-0 down and drew 3-all.
Yeah.
And City won the league that year.
That's
like the
that's
very
their-
last.
That's the season of
Yeah.
Gerrard slip also.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for him.
That was bad.
And I think what
So-
credible team I could see was back when Rafa came in, and for 2 years he did the job.
Right.
When we won the Champions League, and then we
Mhm.
what do you call we pushed in 09, 010 all the way with United. You know, those were the two standout, and the final we reached with AC Milan 1 year later after that. So Rafa's tenure was good, but at the same time Rafa did a lot of mistakes where he sold our good players like Alonso, Mascherano. If you hadn't
Yeah.
sold them, we would have had a good season under Roy Hodgson,
Mm-hmm.
at least.
Hopefully.
Yeah, but then we ended up in relegation by Christmas. We're fighting relegation. We had to come up, and then we got Brendan Rodgers. I hated Kenny Dalglish though. I love him as our legend, but I hate him as a manager. Because some of the things he did, when we won a cup, but I was like, my God, man, it was so horrible to watch the matches. You know?
Huh.
Like, so we were always in a worse situation than you guys were.
At one point.
At
one point you were in a worse
because you always ended up at
situation.
least getting Champions League.
Yeah. Until I think 2-3 years ago when this guy came in, Klopp came in.
Yeah. That's when
I
things changed for us.
actually liked what he did in the first couple of seasons, but then I figured I think now he's stagnated is what I think.
What? Nah.
Yeah, he's tired himself out.
Nah, I don't think so. Right now,
I mean,
it's a development. You can't.
no.
Yeah, it is.
No, you know a manager is going downhill when he starts blaming the wind for your results.
Man, that's all talks. You see, like, when you actually see a manager, right? See, managers are very rare breed. You know that. And they will play whatever game they want to play on media. They don't give a crap when they're behind the door and when they take it on their players because they know their tactics failed and everything failed and they have to reinvent.
Exactly,
the whole
right. So
thing,
when you
right?
come in from the Bundesliga,
Yeah.
in case of Klopp, he came in with his own tactics and it worked pretty well, except he didn't have the right personnel for it.
Mm.
So he started buying the right people, offloading the right people and whatnot, and then his tactics fell into place. And then he tried bringing up, younger players in the academy with the same tactics. And by year 3, everyone's like, yeah, I know Klopp now.
Mm.
I know exactly what he's trying to do. And so by then the league has caught up to you, and then...
Yeah, but that's the same case with Alex Ferguson. When he came in.
For him, it was never the league caught up with him. When he came in, he took some time to it.
Yeah, that's the thing. He
And
took some time
eventually
to it, and then he went on a roll for...
Yeah.
What, 15 years?
But, I mean...
They're
I get
not
he's a
gonna be
legend and
long
everything,
term.
but here's the thing. I mean, I think the last few years, I wouldn't rate him as highly as a manager as anyone else would.
He won his last Premier League title
Yeah, he did,
with
he
a
did.
team that was absolutely, in my eyes, shit.
I don't think so.
Yes, he did.
I don't think so.
You look up the players, you'll be pretty much baffled who you had in that team. And you're like, are you kidding? This team won ahead? Because remember, he lost the season to Man City.
Right, yeah.
Then he won the 20th title with Van Persie wearing 20 shirt, which he
Mhm.
bought. He was the only good player in the team. Who else was there? Rooney was not performing well. You had, I don't know, who was... Do you remember any other United period from that end? You will not.
Wasn't that the one where Scholes and Giggs and everyone was also
No,
in the
man, that was
squad?
like ages back.
No, what?
Scholes came back in like a 6-month period before the title or something.
Oh.
Yeah. Scholes actually retired. Even Ryan Giggs was not even playing in that season. I think Ryan Giggs
so.
was there as a player manager
all
kind
them
of
were
thing,
there.
coaching something like that.
No, that was pretty recently. That was like 2014 or something.
No, man. Further than, when was the last time they won the league? 2014?
Nah, 2012,
12.
13, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So think about that.
Right.
That's pretty old. And he won it with a team.
I don't know. I feel like there was this major factor where he was in a position where he could just buy any player he afforded to.
Yeah.
And he was also pretty weighted in terms of influence within the FA, where actual referees have gone on record to say that they were intimidated by Ferguson and they were inclined towards United.
Huh. Didn't know.
So
about that.
yeah, he has.
I knew there was some sort of influence. But
That-
that's the only reason they were.
Referees have gone on record to say, yes, I was intimidated by Ferguson, which is why some of those decisions were, slightly biased towards them. So I don't know.
Yeah, way I look at
Respect
it.
for him, and he's like a great
Yeah.
manager and everything, but I think his best years were just before that, when he took a bunch of people who
Yeah.
yeah.
Then that's what Klopp will do with Liverpool. I believe that.
Will he though? I think now it's more. No, you can't find a long-serving manager anymore.
No, I'm not talking about 15, 20 years. At least he would stay for... I predict he's going to stay for 8 years.
8 more from now.
Not 8 more from now. I'm thinking overall 8. It's
Overall
been
8 years.
About 3-4 years now?
Right, 3 years
now.
now.
Yeah.
So 5 more.
I predict he's going to stay for another 5 more years.
Mm.
And then
Nah.
he's going to
Yeah.
hand over the reins to Steven Gerrard. That's what I think. You watch that happening.
Right.
You watch that happening.
Sure, the dream. That's what we thought. We always thought Wenger's gonna retire.
Mm-hmm.
and he is going to hand it over to Andre, who's going to come
Really?
in and do
Andre?
an insane job. Yeah.
Andre's still got a couple of more years to go before he becomes Arsenal manager. He's gonna become Arsenal.
He's
manager.
never going to become Arsenal.
You watch,
manager.
he's gonna become
Nope.
Arsenal manager. Okay, let's put this down in the
Here-
podcast.
Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Andre was the assistant coach at Belgium.
And he's doing horrible in Monaco right now.
And he got fired as the Monaco manager.
Did
Like,
he?
yeah,
Okay, I didn't catch up on
already.
that news. Okay.
Yeah. So he did a horrible job there, and then he got fired at his first coaching managerial stint.
Everyone does that, bro.
Not really.
Yeah. Think about it.
Not really.
Think about it. Every manager who has ever become a really successful manager has got their ass kicked by the first professional club.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Take Mourinho. Before he
Take
went to Porto.
this guy. Take Emery. Emery started as a player. He managed the same club into the next league without
Which club
spending
was
a
he in
single.
before that?
He was a player at one of these clubs. I forgot what it's called now. Shit. But yeah, he got injured, so he couldn't play. So he started managing.
Wait, hold
Start
on.
managing
Emery before this was in PSG.
Yeah.
And before PSG, he was in Galatasaray.
Wasn't he at Sevilla?
I think that was before, after Sevilla, I think. He was in Galatasaray for a while.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. I need to, this is one more setup. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a third guy in with us. We'll do all the audio works and stuff, and I have a TV, so you can always bring up facts and stuff when we talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
That will help.
That would help a lot of
Yeah.
things. Because people are like shy to look into their phone because they always want to be right about facts. Man, that's not a problem, dude. Just always look it up. Not like we can store that much information. Go to Wikipedia, you'll find it.
Yeah. The internet's pretty bad here.
And you can connect to my.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So he was at. Okay, managerial career. So he had an injury in 04-05, and then he was at Lorca, and then he was offered the managerial position, and he helped them achieve promotion to the second division for the first time in its
Which
history.
league were they in?
They got promoted to the second division, so yeah.
Doesn't say which country league that is.
Oh, Spanish
Spanish
league,
okay.
yeah.
La Liga.
Yeah. And then he moved to a different club within the second division, Almeria, and then he again helped them overachieve. Like
Promotion,
in their first season, they
Mhm.
got promoted to La Liga, and in their second season, they finished 8th. And then he went to Valencia. And in his first season, he took them straight to the 6th place. And in the second season, they went to the Europa League, despite their financial problems. And then remember, Valencia is a club that's just gotten, that's just started performing. And in their in his very second season, he led them to 3rd place, and then they went to Champions League after 2 years.
Yeah, Valencia. So,
and it's the same with
after Valencia went to Galatasaray, right?
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to. I was having confusion about that because I knew he was in Valencia before.
He went from Deportivo to Almeria to Valencia to Spartak Moscow,
Spartak Moscow,
and then Sevilla, and then PSG and Arsenal.
So
Okay, even right now, look at what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing. It's not even his first.
He's an interim. It's the second time.
Yeah, it's the first time he's coaching a team.
No, he was there with United before, I think, for a while.
He was a player at United. He was never the manager of a.
Never coached.
Never coached a team. Never coached a senior team ever in his life, and he's brought back United from like 8th position or something. In a matter of like 7 games, he's changed their fortune. So I think it's you come in first season, maybe you can be excused because it is your first season, but 3 seasons later, if you're not able to punch above your weight, I mean, he's definitely. Klopp has definitely brought in
punching above our weight.
Oh yeah. He's definitely put Liverpool on the global map.
My prediction, a lot.
He went to like the Champions League's finals and everything. But
we were like, dude, we are gonna get through this season to at least top 4. That was a realistic expectation this year. You know that?
Not really.
It was.
Not really.
I've spoken to so many Liverpool diehards, and everyone I've asked them, like, bro, what do you think is gonna be new season like?
You've built your team over 3 years, and you've led them to the top of the league, but you can't come to terms with the fact that it's slipping. That's when things start spiraling.
Yeah, well, man, it's not coming to terms. We're just fucking around. Because it's very sensitive right now with Pep and him because you're not facing each other anymore. So
Right,
this becomes
yeah,
a very
yeah.
big disadvantage for us, right? So now, as a manager, you'll protect your players from outside pressure. So you will take the pressure on yourself by saying it's the wind. I would do that as a manager. Why would I want my players? When I was coaching with my university team, it was so painful, dude. 3 years. Oh my God, protecting them from all the other pressures I got from my university to get them to win back-to-back championships and stay unbeaten for 1 year and all championships was hard. So you do this tactics. You'll go blame something stupid. So they take it on you.
I guess.
Where do you think Arsenal's going to be in a couple of years?
It's going to be the same position.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be the same position. I think we will probably be fourths.
No, I think you guys will win that
Fourth
title
or
once
third.
at least.
In the next how many years?
I think in the next 3 years. I think
We can
will peak.
exactly in.
Man, you got a squad.
N-
You know that?
We are starting to get a squad now,
Yeah.
but again, it's when as long as Wenger was there, the whole argument was that it's very centralized and he does all the scouting and signing and managing and whatnot. And then they decentralized it and they brought, people designated for their roles, and Wenger just had to manage, and then they pushed him out and they brought in the new guy, and everybody was so happy that it's decentralized, but now it's becoming the same thing all over again. Emery started getting rid of his extended staff and he started bringing in his own guys, so that
But they are all part of decentralized.
they are different people. There's one guy for scouting and there's one guy for
Yeah.
contract negotiations and whatnot, but they're all people who Emery has worked with over a bunch of years. So it's again becoming one of those situations where this guy decides who's getting scouted and who's getting signed.
Yeah, but you can't run a club like how. You see, I think the way I look at it, Arsenal is a very historic club. So they will not only look at trying to win the title, but at the same time they would love to have that traditional thing going on.
Yeah.
The fans will only feel that
Yeah.
way if the manager has completely covered the whole club in his philosophy of trying to win. I think this was a transition which Klopp had with us.
Right. Yeah.
When
Yeah.
he came in, he was trying to, his type of players. We didn't know Bobby Firmino before. Roberto Firmino, we didn't know about him.
Yeah.
We didn't know about Robertson.
So here's the thing, right?
So
we had Sven doing the scouting, and he scouted Guendouzi.
Yeah, good player.
He found that he helped with Aubameyang signing. He helped with.
That guy is a killer. And he has Lacazette also top of that.
So he helped us with all the signings, and now you're firing this guy and bringing in someone new who we don't know whether he'll be good or not.
I think it's because they spend enough money right now. They need to focus
Not
somewhere
really.
else.
We haven't spent cash at all. What are you talking about?
How much was Lacazette? Aubameyang.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? We bought our biggest signings were probably Lacazette, Aubameyang, and Ozil in the past 7 years.
Yeah, superstars, yeah.
Right? And all of them have been signed for what? Put together, they'd probably be worst case scenario 150 million.
Yeah.
That's what clubs are playing for a single player,
More
paying
than
for a single player now.
150. Ozil was how much?
Ozil was 42, 43 million pounds, I think.
And Aubameyang?
I don't remember how much we paid for Oba. 50 something, I think.
Man, he couldn't be that cheap because Madrid were chasing him.
No, the only reason we bought Aubameyang was because we sold Giroud to Chelsea, which meant Batshuayi could go to Dortmund and we could get Oba. And Oba apparently had a fallout with the management, so he was ready to leave anyway. And that's when we went in and we bought him for 50 something million, I think. That's what we paid for him. And same with Lacazette and Ozil.
It's going to take some time because it's one season now.
Yeah. So right now it's just that faith period where we hope the process works out and we stand by whatever he's doing, hoping he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a bunch of loud people going, fire Emery already.
Yeah. They're gonna try to be like the Rent boys.
But
Yeah, what's happening with Chelsea with Sari and all that?
I hate
Last
to be in
week
this position.
with the Kepa thing.
Oh, I hate to be in his
Oh
position.
my god. It was,
You could see the helplessness.
man, it was a long time since I've seen something like that happen. On field where a player just goes like, I am not coming out. The manager losing his shit has been a very long time, dude. And to see that video, I was like, oh, finally, some drama in football.
Chelsea has always been that club that I can never find a reason to like. They always do one thing. Either I meet someone who's incredibly annoying as a Chelsea fan,
Oh, yes.
or
is
it's just
something
a
about
club
them.
that just gets disrespect from me for some reason. They're never in, and I would never count them among clubs that I would ever say something nice about. Because here's what happened last season, right? Conte, such a brilliant. Dignified
Oh
manager,
my God.
right? He had class about him. Now you had to fire him because he didn't get along well with the board and the players run the whole thing there. It's like mafia there.
Yeah.
It's so childish because
Because one season he won 2 things, I think.
Yeah.
Won the title and the FA Cup or something like that. I don't know which one.
no, I don't think they won the FA Cup. I think they won the title and like Carling Cup or something.
Yeah,
in one
they got a
season.
double that
Something like
season.
I
Next
guess.
season they fired him. He was coached the next season, and the third season he's out. Why?
Always.
Why? Dude, that guy bought Juventus from death.
And the major reason is because most players in the club did not get along well with him. And so did you see what happened after the cup win that I think it was Community Shield win, or was it? I think it's some cup, FA Cup, or I don't know.
Okay.
And the entire team took a picture with the trophy, and Willian decided to post it on his Instagram, except he had just blocked out Conte's face from the photo. He put in like an emoji or something, and I was like, why would you do that? That's not only is that so immature, it's not a professional thing to do.
Man, Chelsea is a weird situation. It's something about what they do on the pitch or whatever thing always reflects on the fans too. Right? It's the funniest thing I've met some people and we'll have a conversation. I just feel like it's so weird. And then I'll be like, dude, what club do you support if he's a footballer? And he'll say Chelsea, and I'll be like,
That explains it.
that explains it. It's weird when any football fans are like, oh, if you're a United fan, I'll be giving you shit. If you're a City fan, I'll just be like, should I? Because I don't like United that much.
Yeah.
But when you meet an Arsenal, it's always neutral love kind of thing. For me, I just feel bad for them because
they've never been threatening. Everybody's like, yeah. They'll probably be at the top of the table by Christmas, but don't worry, it'll be fine. They'll be third or fourth later. It's fine.
With not like that with Arsenal. It's kind of like any person that I meet Arsenal people are like when we talk about football, it's like, you know what we are going through, and they'll be like, yeah, we know what you're going through. It's like exactly, and now when we meet, it's like, we know what we went through, and then you'll be like, yeah, bro, we know. It's like brother in arms kind of thing, and then every time when a match happens, I just know it's going to be a high scoring Liverpool game. Let's play here. Let's watch this.
Yeah. Except last time we met, it was like 1-1 or something.
No, last time we thrashed you 4.
Oh no. The one before. The first time we met,
we were quite surprised because last season was pretty horrible for you guys.
Yeah. It's always been one of those. So sometimes it's like 4-4 or 4-0 or 5-1 or something.
Or sometimes you had that 4-4 matches.
Yeah.
Arsenal and Liverpool had these 4-4
Arsenal
matches.
Was 4-0 ahead at halftime, and then Liverpool came back 4-all.
And I remember when Arshavin scored 4 goals.
Yeah. That was a 4-0, I think.
Yeah.
Arshavin scored 4.
It's always like that between us. High scoring game ever, and always just goes down to the. And then we don't have no problems. I have no problems with any of my Arsenal fans. I'll just text them.
None.
Good match, bro.
No.
And then I'll be like,
Chelsea, I have every problem with. United, I guess it's situational. If it's one of those United people who's just, he's not violent about it, then that's okay. But if it's one of those typical obnoxious United fans, then
That's why I call them commercial and diehard. There's two
yeah, you
difference.
know,
You're
you
just
know.
you're just
There are
like,
there are United fans who used to support the club before about 12 years, 13 years, and there are fans who joined in along the way. And not to be judgmental, but
Yeah,
I
but
find a bunch of them go all,
it's a weird. I actually learned about this connection in my university.
right.
So when I went to Hereford University, I don't want to take that professor's name, but he was a Scottish, and he was a pretty cool guy. And he asked once, we were talking about some business thing, and then in the classroom he asked once, who's a Liverpool fan here? And my hand went up, and I was the only guy in the classroom, right? And everyone's like, oh, so he's a Liverpool guy. He's the only guy in the classroom, and then he goes like, oh, you never walk alone, bro. I'm a Liverpool fan too. And I was like, oh shit. And I thought that was just a bonding thing with the professor, but that didn't stop there. He actually helped me off classes. He would come up, and when we are passing each other, we'll talk about the club, and then he will talk to me about studies.
Right.
And then he always had that because he is from Liverpool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a Scouser.
Right.
Right? It's half of his family is a Scouser. So he's from Scotland, right? But he's from Edinburgh, but half of his family is from Liverpool. So he knows that Liverpool connection. So he's always completely affiliated with the club. And then I had the final exam, and I was stuck on one question. He just came in for, the professor comes in, obviously asks if he has any questions, ask me, otherwise I'm gonna go, that's the only classroom he has, And then he comes near me, and he sees one of the question over there on my topic, and he goes like, and I just like, I know he just kind of knew that was going to be tough for me. So he just said, you remember that day that Steven Gerrard scored this goal? And then I'll be like, yeah, you remember what we were talking about that day?
Right.
And then I'll be like, okay. And then I knew what the answer was, what the right answer was for the particular business question. That's what that you never walk alone thing from Liverpool. So this was what, when you have that, when someone is like, you support a club, it's much more than anything else.
Yeah,
it's not just football.
It's one of those ways to start bonding with people.
Yeah.
I mean,
two random good people. You meet I meet any Liverpool guy on the road, he's instantly my friend. We're going to talk about football.
Exactly. When I came to Chennai, I wasn't. I didn't follow football before I was here. I started following it in 2008. 2007 and 8 is when I started watching football, and then 2009 I was like, yeah, this is the club that I want to support. And ever since it's been like this. And then that's when I start figuring out if there are actual fan clubs in the city, if I can go watch matches and whatnot. And I think we are like the second biggest registered group of Arsenal fans around the world or something like that.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So I went for a few match screenings and whatnot, and ever since, every time I'm just walking around, I see someone in an Arsenal shirt, just walk past, like just do finger guns, and they'll always be like, hey Gunner, yeah, cool man, we'll just sit down, talk for a bit. I've had like randomest conversations like that. I was once walking from one of my friend's house to another at about 3 a.m. when I found a dude sitting and having a cup of coffee or something by the roadside, wearing an Arsenal shirt. And all I had to do was, hey, Gunner. And he sat me down. 5 minutes later, we're both having coffee there.
That's just the connection that you have.
Yeah.
It's beautiful when that happens, dude. It's absolutely beautiful. I've had instances like that, like, you come from, where I grew up from, Saudi was like a close community kind of thing, because there are not a lot of Indians. It's not like Dubai is
right.
Indians. Everywhere you go, you can at least find an Indian you don't know. And Saudi it was different. Jeddah was like, an Indian and you know who he is, and it's always like that. So in Dubai, when randomly I think I was in an electronic store where they had piano, and I was wearing the Liverpool jersey, one guy comes behind me and taps on my shoulder, like, you never walk alone. It's like, you never walk alone. That was the second time that happened to me in Dubai, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Because in Saudi it's a different thing. We wear football jerseys every day in Saudi, which is like, football is our life, every day. So like that kind of bonding in Dubai when I started to feel with this Liverpool people, and then that's just like when you, because we support a club that is not in our country, you would feel that with Chennai Super Kings.
Yeah.
If you really support cricket and you follow in Chennai, so it's the hype is here, the whole thing is here. Imagine Arsenal being here,
Right.
how you would be, right? Your whole life revolves around it at the same time. You know what time to get the hell out of the house to go see the match and everything. So when you meet those kind of people from the club you support from the other side of the world, and the respect they give you, so immense. I think sports is generally like that.
Gives people something to be more approachable over. Yeah. Huh.
Just be nice with people. Just
Yeah. I mean, it also gives you more reasons to go be a horrible person to someone else, but in general,
I think it should be a substitute for war also.
or people screaming at the top of their lungs and the other person going,
Just go play a match or something.
I guess.
Figure this stuff out there.
Yeah.
You know how much that would improve a peak human condition of someone to play that kind of a sports and that pressure.
That's what we do,
would be
don't we?
elite teams actually. They would not be regular football teams that play across the countries.
But what sport would you pick?
See, do you know why I think? I'm not sure. I need to do a little research on this. I'll tell you what sports I would pick later. I think I would pick football because it gives you a full 90-minute go full on the pitch.
Pick a triathlon.
Yeah, that's also there. You can pick any sports for that matter. That's why they have the Olympics. You just fight it out of yourself.
Yeah.
But I think the only reason they even why we don't have too many world wars after the 1 and 2 is because of sports.
Is it though? We had sports before World Wars, and we still had World Wars.
It wasn't that as what do you say as influential it is on a person's life.
No,
as it
we're
is
just
now.
more humans now. That's it.
Yeah, that's because we're seeing that now. What I'm saying is,
I think people across,
look,
I don't know.
when it comes from a time when why would World War II happen? Because people were upset after World War One, right? Why are people upset after World War One? Is because of what the dictators did before World War One, right? And then you had World War II. People tend to be upset about a lot of things. And then sports picked up in a whole different way. The World Cups during those times, football World Cups were mental. If England and Germany meet, it's so bad. Like, imagine being at that era and watching England and Germany play. So whatever frustrations people have, you get the certain group of people that will hate the other country for what happened to their situation. And when they take that effort and passion and everything on watching a match, and where you can beat an opponent, that satisfaction you get, it slowly chips off you, and then you just become a normal human being. It's a weird theory.
Oh, it is a theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think sports has actually become less influential now than before.
Yeah, obviously.
It's not more.
What do you mean less influential? It's more influential.
It's not.
It is.
No, it's not. People are not as invested as they were, let's say, 20 years ago.
And World Cup's coming around the corner.
Sure.
You're going to see India go
Balls
out
it's
influence
never
into
going
it.
to be the same as an India-Pakistan match in the late 90s or early 2000s, because that was at its peak.
It is going to be.
No.
I think it still is going to be.
No. I think people are
It's
toned down in
because-
terms of how emotionally invested
It's
they are in
because there are
sports.
people like us who don't care about that much.
Nah, not really. Again, here's the thing. People used to burn effigies of players and pelt stones at players' houses, and
Before?
Yeah,
that was there.
they don't do that anymore now. In a country of like
that's
100.
not because of influence.
No,
That's
I'm saying in a country of
less of
110 crore
influence.
people, are you saying there's not even one person who's open enough to do that now?
They're still gonna do it.
They
They'll
don't
burn
though.
stuff in.
Just
nowadays.
people are not as invested as they were before. Yeah, sports, sure. That's how it is right now. And also because sports themselves have become more polished for mass viewership.
I think you're right. You're right. If you take my theory into consideration, what I just said, it has chipped off that thing of people
Right.
to just become normal people.
Yeah.
So sports has lost that influence
Yeah.
over things, and we are learning other lessons through it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Why it was heightened up and pushed to a certain peak was to divert everyone's attention somewhere else, so they just kind of calm down. You know, you need to calm down. And now you're calm. It's a whole different energy you get
Yeah.
out of it.
Now you watch it for entertainment, not
Yeah.
for validation.
Something to learn sometimes.
Right.
Also. Yeah.
Oh,
Makes sense.
kind of. Yeah, now it does.
But there are times when people hate having conversations with me.
Why though?
When we, especially when you're in a different world, we just talk about a lot of weird things, and then I have millions of theories. Some of them supported with facts and stuff, and then it blows people's mind when you can actually sit and think about something like that. Like I've met so many people who sit and they'll explain something to me, and I'll just be like, I did not ever in my wildest dream look at this subject and this matter. And it's just like opens up a whole new belief system inside of you. You've had that experiences?
Yeah, actually. Yeah, I mean, it's this radical perspective shift towards a particular topic where you think you've only seen it a particular way and someone else tells you, no, why don't you check it out? When you think about it like this, then you're like, wow.
Yeah. And sometimes they have multiple subjects that they can switch your mind left and right. When you meet one of those people, right, that's when it's like, okay, now I have to decide if I want him around me or not. Like, he's good for a good time period, but the longer he stays around me, he's gonna mess with my head.
I wouldn't mind that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't mind that. I have this friend who can talk about anything. Period. That's it. Like, you start a conversation with him about anything under the sun, and he will give you his most informed opinion about it.
Oh, those people are amazing. They just know.
Yeah,
almost
they
all
just
the
have
subjects.
a lot of conversations,
Mm.
and they will always walk up to people who they don't know much about, or they will just strike up a conversation and just listen. That's it. So one of my friends who currently lives in Mumbai, I met him, I think New Year's of 2017, and I told him I'm a stand-up comic. And for 2 hours, all he did was ask me questions about stand-up comedy and okay, how do you become a comic? What do you do?
Mm.
And okay, so what are your jokes? How did you write it? Whatnot? And he had a conversation about it for 2 hours. And then 2 hours later, he tells me thanks. And so I go and ask him how you're not bored of just one person talking to you. And he tells me, no, I'll have something to talk about the next time I meet another stand-up comic.
Yeah.
And he does that with everyone about everything.
Every other subject.
So if there's
Sick.
anything you start talking to him about, there is a very high probability he's already did his research on that.
That's a deep way of thinking into certain people's head. When you meet people, hear all of these things, you do research on it, you're learned. It's banking a lot of things in your head.
And he retains that, right? Like, it's not even one of those, I'll listen to you, but then I'll just forget tomorrow or something of that sort. He retains all of that just so he can talk to other people about it.
Do you retain a lot?
I don't know. I have nothing to gauge it against.
No, when you think of a joke in a way, and then you get into some other work, can you bring that back in again?
Jokes are different. Jokes I'll always try to retain as much as possible.
So you retain it immediately.
Yeah.
In your head,
Initially, I used to write down jokes, which I think is the best possible practice for a comic. Where every time I would think of a joke, I'll write it on a notepad physically. And every time I change that joke on the next open mic, I'll make change in the notepad as well, so that I have a physical copy of what I've written. But now I haven't written even one of my jokes that I do on stage, which I generally haven't forgotten any of the jokes, and I feel like I've grown comfortable enough with my own jokes to remember them, but I wish I had written them. I wish I had written every single joke that I've thought of so far, because there are so many that you miss. Now you think about, there was this one joke that I was thinking about 3 days ago. What was it? I know it was funny. Why did I forget it?
Hmm.
So you'd rather just write it down
So you haven't
as soon as
started
possible.
writing it down.
Yeah. But because they're jokes and they're pretty important to me, I generally don't write them down because I know I can retain them. Like I'll probably forget the rest of the stuff.
So it's taking out most of the junk stuff and then just skipping the one that you think is gonna work.
No, if I think of a funny joke, I'll just keep it until I go out there and do it a few times.
Okay. Yeah,
If I think of something else that's not a joke, then I might forget that.
So say an instance in a week, how many jokes can you think about randomly when just things happen around you?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, there's funny and there's funny enough to be on stage.
Okay, so what's
So
how much funny?
Every time I'm hang out with my friends, there'll be something funny that I can think of and say at the spot. But I won't really retain it to go and do it on stage because it was like a momentary thing. There are jokes that probably won't work with anyone. They just work in isolation. So those jokes I'll probably post them on.
And how do you
Facebook
find
or
out
something.
the funnier jokes in that 1 week and try to retain it in your head and see if that can work?
It's a thought. You think of something and then you're like, wow, this thought leads me to this joke. If it had worked out this way, this would have been funny. And so that thought stays with you.
Okay, so you find the funnier part and then you find the thought along with it?
No, I mean, you think about something and then you realize, oh, in this situation, what if this had happened? Oh, wait, this would have been funny, blah, blah, blah. You take a topic and then you think about it in a way nobody else has thought about it. So, I'd love to give you an example, but okay. But this is one of the things that my friend said to me. He said, all gay people are sexists because they prefer men over women. And I was like, I've never thought of it that way. I know sexism is giving one of genders a preference over the other for just being that gender, but I've never thought of homosexuality like that.
Yeah.
So you think of that topic and then you make jokes about it and then you're like, okay, that's funny.
That's funny. Okay, yeah.
So that topic will stay with you for the next few days.
That's like a lot of effort to keep thinking it's on.
Again, there are throwaway jokes that are just funny, but I wouldn't say them on stage. For instance, recently I was talking to one of my friends. This might not be the funniest thing I say today, but it went something. We were talking about heights of people, how tall people are. I said, hey, people who are 5'9" should just say they're 69 inches. And people who are 5'8" should just say they're 420. And people who are 5'7" should just grow taller. Right. Now that's funny in a conversation when you're talking about all of it. But I won't go on stage and say, hey, here's a joke.
It's not that...
It's not funny enough for stage.
Yeah.
It's conversational funny.
So all of these things are throughout the years that you've been doing. How many years have you been doing it for now? 3 years?
Almost 3. Almost.
Yeah, 3 years of doing it. Bombing it, polishing it, putting it down. It's a lot of hard work, man.
Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you write something that's just funny. Just funny. Like first attempt you go out there and tell people a story and they're like, wow, that's hilarious. And you're like, yeah, I got lucky.
It's a lot of hard work.
I'm so glad I have all the people I have in the circuit that I talk to on a regular basis, because there have been times when I've seriously contemplated quitting comedy, and every single time I have a conversation with these people and they generally always, push me back on stage. They keep me in there. Like, no man, don't give up.
Yeah, you need people like that.
Yeah, I'm so lucky.
Right kind of people around you.
Yeah.
Just keep pushing you.
It's very difficult to do that when you've not been, when you've not had an applause break, when you've never had to pause a joke just because people are still laughing and clapping and you're waiting for them to go silent. That hasn't happened for a month or 2 months. It starts taking a toll on you.
Okay.
I'm probably giggle worthy is what I am. I will never be able to get a laugh. And that's when you're like, nope, I've run out of funny, I might as well quit. And then that's when everyone else is like, no man, come back. You've been funny in the past, you can be funny. You're just mentally blocked right now. Just come in.
It's a very tight-knit community, isn't it?
It is. I mean, eventually you do find people you can bond with within a community.
No, in terms of trying to push others into...
Yeah. I think it's pretty helpful and constructive and whatnot. I mean, everyone is super approachable, so that way it's pretty cool. You can just, you know, text someone or walk up to someone and talk to them. They'll always try to help you out with the jokes. It doesn't matter how long they've been doing stand-up. This could be someone who's already made it and are super funny and doing shows around cities, or this could be someone who started comedy with you. You could just walk up to them and talk to them.
And how it's improved in the last 3 years? Chennai comedy.
Oh yeah, when I started doing comedy, we had one open mic every week. That's it. It was only on Wednesdays, and it happened in Adyar, and that's the only 4 minutes we'll ever get. And sometimes there'll be like 5, 6 comics, 8 comics. Sometimes there'll be like 20, 19 comics walking up on stage and doing their jokes, because you only have one stage. And from there, now I think we have about 5 open mics. We have Chennai's dedicated comedy club now. So now it's grown considerably, I think. There was a point of time where we had an open mic every single day of the week. So it's grown. Plus, from having, let's say, half a dozen people who turn up every week, now we have like 15-20 comics who will turn up to every single open mic, or at least try to turn up to every single open mic, and are consistent in the scene.
I just recently discovered this. Like I was looking forward to it too. Because back there when you're just watching Indian comedies, you usually see Mumbai, Delhi kind of thing. Comedy scene is like, oh, okay, it's pretty cool. And I was like, Chennai definitely has some. It has to be there. Because the amount of time I visited here, I know the city is pretty cool. And just for the last 6 months is where I've like discovered, oh my god, there's a bunch of really funny guys over here, And then these guys are in the scene and they're still doing it. And
yeah, I mean, it's not. Chennai is probably not as big as Bangalore or Mumbai in terms of comedy. I mean, in terms of how many comics we have, how many venues we have, how many shows we do, it's not.
But what we have is good.
But what we have is probably... It'll probably be as big as Bangalore, like in the next couple of years or so, is how I see it.
Should. I think it will. And at the same time, it also gives you a stone to step on.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're here and there is no comedy scene.
You have no idea where to start, right?
Yeah. It just completely puts you off, and you're like, man, I have to go to Bangalore if I want to even try it.
Exactly.
It's like you're not sure you can do it.
So Mumbai has grown so big that at this point you have to pay
to get on the...
And you have to bring in another friend who can pay, just so you can get on an open mic for 4 minutes. And you have to book slots in advance, like a few days before. You have to text them and tell them that you're going to be on stage.
That's packed.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who come in too, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like a New York kind of pack.
It's not, and Bangalore is again, like, there is no way you can possibly attend every open mic on every single day at the venues that you want to. So that way, I think we are getting there. We now have 5 very steady-ish open mics happening. And yeah, I think I started out at the right time. Right? Like, it wasn't too early where people are still figuring out how to get comedy going, but it was also not
too late
after the whole scene has exploded. Yeah.
I think there's still time for a lot of people to get in also. Right?
Yeah, I think now people are growing more.
How much do you
growing
think
warmer too?
Average in a year, how many people join?
I don't think there's a figure to it. Most people move out. Most people don't. So there are people who turn up for like 3 open mics and then they'll disappear, and then they'll turn up for that occasional open mic once or twice.
Or the the performers, artists?
Yeah. Comics themselves.
Comics.
Nobody would initially when I went to open mics, I found very, very, very few people turn up frequently for as comics, I'm saying. But now it's like a decent 20 people that I can think of who I will always see at open mics, like 20, 30, I guess. Initially it was probably like 4 people.
It's a good group.
Yeah.
Not too much, not too less.
Yeah.
You know, it's very always helpful with each other because you're not like.
Oh, the community is much bigger than
Yeah.
that. Community is probably. I'll check. So we have a.
Oh, you have a separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see how many people it has. So it has 70 participants.
That's good for a big city like this.
Right.
Yeah. Because if you do a weekly show, out of that 70, you will have at least 20, 30 coming in because others would have different work or they're doing something else.
If you have,
to it or
if you have an open mic, I think you can get at maximum about 15-20. So, for instance, this past week we had two open mics happening on we had two open mics happening on Thursday, and at both of them we had about 20 comics.
it's 40 out of that 70.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good number.
So yeah, that way I think it's pretty strong now.
For newcomers, is open mic.
Yeah, you go out there, you show people that you're funny enough, start being
it
put on the
also
lineup.
takes that if you're confident on stage, you can easily pull off a good jokes too.
You can become confident on stage, but
Yeah.
you can there's probably a small chance that you'll never become funny enough,
Yeah.
but there is zero chance that you'll never be good on stage or something. So the nervousness is the easier part to get rid of.
I'd love to come and see open mics. It would be funnier to see some newbie going up on stage.
You will see
Trying.
that's what open mics are for, right? It's like people come in who comics who've already done who already have jokes will try out their newer jokes to see if they work or not, and then there'll be newcomers trying comedy for the first time. So everything you see at an open mic is experimental. You will never know what is going to be funny and what is not going to be funny. You'll see some really, really good jokes, like one of those raw in the circuit jokes, like this is what they started out with, and then you'll see some really bad jokes where people have something that they're not able to translate into funniness.
Do you know, I've always laughed at those jokes, which will never be funny for others.
Oh, I've had...
Because that whole situation is funny.
Yeah. That's the thing, right? So I've had times when people are not laughing at my jokes, people are laughing at me.
Yeah.
And that's not a good place to be in.
I mean, I'm not laughing at... see, when I laugh at those jokes, to be honest, this is what I feel, right? He just said a joke which was funny for him, but it wasn't funny for others. Like, how come others didn't understand, like, what's the whole dynamic over here? And I just laugh at that. It's like, for me, it's always been like, what is he thinking at that moment when he said the joke?
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit. I just look around like, nobody's laughing. This is a weird dynamics going on here. It is funny for him. It is funny. And then there are some jokes that I still hear, like people who still put up things on YouTube and they've got good amount of views. I don't want to name any names. I look at that and I'm like, maybe it's not funny for me. Okay, I get more curious. Then I start sending it to testing it with a lot of other people, just to make sure that I don't find it funny or something wrong with me.
Right.
You know, some jokes is just like, or some artist and not just be like, performers are just like, is it just me or I don't like any of his jokes? You know, let me just check with others.
And what has the general?
Always general has been like, it's not funny, bro.
Right.
And then I'm like, how did he even make it up till there, and why are people still laughing at him? That question comes to my head too. You know what I mean? I have these kind of thoughts that goes on in these sort of things.
I guess I don't know. I guess every comic once they make it on YouTube and once they have a bunch of views on it, you can be assured that they're only like there because they have found an audience who appreciates it. True. So I guess maybe I will find a joke that I don't find funny and then I will send it around and everyone else will say, hey, that's not a funny joke. But that person who made that joke will still be selling out shows because he knows that there's an audience for him who brought him up to where he is. So he has been funny. It's just me who doesn't find it funny.
Yeah, I'm not looking at any character sort of thing. It's just like, it's a bunch of people who and they actually thought this was funny. And then you start to realize, what's that? You know, it's just, so I don't know how to explain it. It's just kind of like, that is so different. You know what I mean? You just feel weird. I just feel like I'm an elephant and you're a giraffe kind of situation, you know? and I'll still love you for being a giraffe. That's a different thing. But then it's like, okay, that's different. You
That's
know?
different. Yeah.
I have that feeling a lot since I came here to India. You know, it's like a lot of situations. I'll just meet people and just be like, how, why, and what, and then I'm like, wow. Always ends up with a wow. You know, even my own family members, like cousins or something, you know, when they say something or do something, or even if it's a joke or something like that, you know, when it comes, because they're very talkative. My family is very talkative. That's why I do the podcast. It's very talkative people. Yeah, and then you listen to them, and it's like, wow, that's different. Oh man, it's very immersive. Yeah, it's like when you're like reborn kind of situation, and you start noticing way too many things you never noticed before.
I think the general term for that is anxiety, but sure.
Okay. I think I might have that. Let's get that checked. But I'll tell you why I started feeling that way off the podcast. There's a certain experiences that certain people go through.
Right.
And after that, perspective about everything is like different.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow. Oh man. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much.
I think over
Right.
2 hours or so.
Yeah. Oh shoot. Yeah, almost. I think.
Yeah. Just have random
Right.
conversations.
Thanks, man.
Just
Thank you
go
so
there.
much. This felt good. Huh?
Yeah.
I had fun.
You had fun
Yeah.
talking about weird stuff with me.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense, most of the things. When I listen to it again, most of the things don't make sense, but I just feel like, you were having fun, it's okay. People will get the fun in that.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thank you
Alright.
so much.
Thank you for coming.
Right.